Unsung Murder Ballads is a true crime podcast, and as such, we will be discussing topics that are disturbing, graphic, and often violent in nature. So this is not for children under the age of 13.
But you know this because you did start playing this episode. So here are some things you might not know about us.
We are going to be critical of mistakes made by both criminals and law enforcement.
We're going to express our views on things that you might not always agree with.
We will occasionally go on an off-topic tangent.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So if you're easily triggered, this might not be the podcast for you.
However, if this is your cup of tea, then raise your pinky finger while you sip and join us for this week's horrific case, you sick bastards.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 88 Revisited. I am Janus Dead.
And I'm Madsters.
Welcome back, Madster. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well today. How are you?
I'm doing great. So to explain to our listeners, I almost said guests like it's a restaurant. To explain to our listeners why we're redoing an episode as late as episode 88. That one we had a guest co-host that, just no offense against him, we felt that he kind of helped keep that episode from being really good. So we've decided to re-record that episode because I truly feel like this particular serial killer deserved a better presentation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of sounds a little creepy that you say that he deserves something better, but I mean, it's okay.
It's not, yeah, you're right. He doesn't deserve it. Fuck that guy. But I would say maybe his victims deserve better.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay, good. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Joyous when we first were about to start recording this. This guy is known as the BTK killer. What do you think BTK stands for?
Behind the killer?
Behind the what?
Behind the killer, BTK, behind the killer. I don't know.
No, that's a better answer than Joyous gave. She went with big titty kids or something. Yeah.
Oh, that's silly.
But that right there shows the tone that our other guest host that night kind of created. It was a very silly moment. So, yeah. So it stands for bind, torture, kill.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's deep. That's dark.
Yeah,
that's really dark.
Well, I mean, we do discuss murders here. Don't forget that. All right, so we're just going to dive right in. There's not going to be a teaser or anything like that because I don't really want to ruin any part of this. This is, let's just dive in.
Okay.
So Dennis Lynn Rader was born on March 9th, 1945 in Pittsburgh, Kansas, but he grew up in Wichita. He was the eldest of 4 sons, and he enjoyed a seemingly normal childhood. Keyword seemingly. Both his parents worked long hours and paid little attention to their children at home. And Rader later described feeling ignored by his mother in particular and resenting her for it. All you parents out there that think your children don't need more attention, I'm going to argue they need some attention.
Yeah, they definitely do. Otherwise, they start acting out.
Yeah, did you hear about, this is slightly off topic, but one of Tom Hanks' sons is writing a book that's talking about what life was really like growing up in their house?
Oh, no, I did not hear that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be one of those tell-all revealing kind of things, so that'll be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Especially because there's now rumors that Tom Hanks is in the Epstein files, which would be really, really disappointing.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I've been digging deeper into that. There's a whole thing, but we'll talk about that later because this is not what we're talking about here tonight. All right. So at a young age, Rader harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing trapped and helpless women.
Wow.
He also exhibited zoo sadism by torturing, killing, and hanging small animals.
Oh, isn't that like the first sign of like the of murdering?
The McDonald's triad.
Yeah.
Torturing animals, setting fires, and wetting the bed. Yes. So Rader would act out sexual fetishes for voyeurism, autoerotic asphyxiation, and cross-dressing. Now keep in mind this is I think the 50s at this point. So 50s and early 60s. So this is not as common as it is today.
Yeah.
And it's killers like this that actually did not help the trans community later. So he often spied on female neighbors while dressed in women's clothing, including women's underwear that he had stolen. And he masturbated with ropes and other bindings around his arms and neck.
What the hell?
Yeah. And keep in mind, this is what he's going to tell us later. Years later, during his cooling off periods between murders, Rader would take pictures of himself wearing women's clothing and wearing a female mask while he was bound.
That's so strange.
It's definitely unusual, yes. And he later admitted that he was pretending to be his own victims as part of a sexual fantasy that he had.
What the fuck?
Again, some people, I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. Some people are just fucked. He did keep these sexual proclivities well hidden, and by the community at large, he was widely regarded as normal, polite, and well-mannered. After graduating from Wichita Heights High School, Rader attended Wichita Wesleyan University. He received only mediocre grades and dropped out a year later. Rader would then serve in the U.S. Air Force from 1966 to 1970. In 1971, he married a woman named Paula Dietz, and the couple would have 2 children together, a son named Brian that was born in 1975, and a daughter named Carrie who was born in 1978. Now we're going to jump ahead a little bit here, but Brian, his son, stayed out of the public eye after all the events that we're going to discuss happened. He basically kept a low profile. His daughter Carrie, however, wrote a book in 2019 titled A Serial Killer's Daughter, My Story of Hope, Love, and Overcoming.
Interesting.
It's really cool how she took this and turned it into something that was both entertaining for the world, I suppose, informative and stuff, but it also kind of helped her overcome it all, which is pretty cool. Because she even says in interviews that she has a hard time thinking about her father as this serial killer when she only had good memories of their time together when she was a child. So it's really fucked. It's kind of cool. I'm gonna just kind of go through some of his history here before we get to his killing. So we're gonna skip around a little bit. So I apologize for that, but I just want to get the mundane stuff out of the way before we really dig into the meat and potatoes of this. So Rader attended Butler County Community College in El Dorado, earning an associate's degree in electronic engineering technology in 1973. And then he went and enrolled at Wichita State University, graduating in 1979 with a Bachelor's of Science degree, majoring in administration of justice. Basically, this guy is teaching himself how to work with electronics and how the justice system works.
I'm thinking of what he's trying to plan out, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, we're about to talk about one of the jobs he takes on, because he started to work for a Wichita-based office for ADT Security Services. So an alarm company.
Oh, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, so from 74 until 1988, he is the one out there installing security alarms as part of his job. And in many cases, the people buying these security systems from him were doing so because they were afraid of the BTK killer.
Oh.
Yeah. So not only is he setting up the security systems, now he also knows how to bypass them. He knows who has them. It's a whole fucked up thing. He knows everything about these security systems.
This is insane.
Yes, it is. So again, continuing to jump forward with his career, Rader was also a census field operations supervisor for Wichita in 1989 before they did their 1990 census, which means that part of his job was to walk around the city asking people questions about census data. how many people live in your home, that sort of thing.
Oh, he has too much information.
Yes, he does. Again, it all seems really coordinated. And then in May of 1991, he became a dog catcher and a compliance officer for Park City, Kansas, which means he's out there catching dogs, which would be the one deterrent for a household for him. And as a compliance officer, he's the one who walks around and says, hey, your lawn is too tall. Here's a ticket, cut it, like that sort of thing.
Oh,
Or shovel your walkway, here's a ticket. You know, he's that guy. Now, and then, as I just said, in that position, neighbors recalled him as being overzealous and extremely strict, taking pleasure in bullying and harassing single women in particular. One neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for seemingly no reason.
what?
Yeah. Now, Rader was a member of the Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita, and at some point he was elected president of the church council. And he was also a Cub Scout leader.
This guy has a lot of like lives going on. He's doing so much.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hats on. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So Rader's first known murders were particularly gruesome. On January 15th, 1974, Rader murdered 4 members of the Otero family. There was husband and father Joseph, who was 38 years old, his wife Julie, who was 33, and 2 of their children. There was Josephine, who was 11, and Joseph Jr., who was 9. Rader claimed he first targeted this family 2 months prior to their murders because he spotted Julie leaving to take her children to school, and he decided to follow them. On the morning of February 15th, Rader cut the phone lines and he entered the Otero residence when Joey, the son, opened the back door for the family dog to be let out.
Oh my God.
Now, Rader entered the house, I'm assuming brandishing a weapon, and he told them that he was a wanted man in California before he ordered them to lie down on the living room floor at gunpoint. So, yeah, he has a gun.
Wow.
He then led the family into the bedroom and tied them up with rope that he had prepared ahead of time.
Oh, this guy had it planned out.
This one was probably his most well planned out one, yes. You're going to see that. He's meticulous that way. So Joseph and Joey were on the floor, while Julie and Josephine, like the 9-year-old, were on the bed. The wrists and the feet of Joseph and Julie were tied up, and then Rader put a plastic bag over Joseph's head, which he then secured with ropes. But after he did that, Joseph started to chew a hole in the bag so that he could breathe. And Rader had to put another bag over that and tighten that up as well, causing Joseph to slowly suffocate to death.
That's sad.
In front of his whole family.
That's a brutal way to die, too.
I'm sure it's not comfortable, but at least, I don't know, I think it would be less painful than a lot of other ways. Just,
yeah.
You know, maybe not. I mean, you're obviously aware of it, so there's panic, but I don't know. I think it'd be better than fire and drowning, but I don't know. I mean, I've never died.
I feel like anything is better than fire or drowning, though. Those are 2 brutal ones.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Rader then attempted to strangle Julie, and according to Rader, after he thought she was dead, she woke back up. And when she realized what was still going on, she became really upset and asked him to save her son. And he had already put a bag over Joey Jr.'s head. So he actually took the bag off. But he was already
dead.
But he was already dead.
Oh.
She then screamed, "You killed my boy, you killed my boy." And she actually said to him, "May God have mercy on your soul."
Wow.
Rader then strangled her to death with a rope. Rader then led Josephine down into the basement. There, he hung her from a noose on a pipe.
Oh, that's awful.
Police later found Rader's semen near her partially clothed body.
Ew.
And Rader would later admit that he derived sexual pleasure from her death.
That's fucking disgusting.
Absolutely. It's gross regardless, but to a 9-year-old, that's crazy to me.
That's fucking disgusting.
Now, strangulation and souvenir taking would become part of Rader's criminal behavior. He would always keep some kind of keepsake, and strangulation was a big part of it. Later that day, the Otero's 15-year-old son, Charlie, came home from school and discovered their bodies.
Oh, he saw everything. Oh my goodness.
Now, he had been at school the whole time, but it would not be until 2005 when Rader finally confessed to killing the Otero family.
Oh, so for years they didn't know who did it.
From 1974 until 2005, they had no idea who actually killed the Otero family.
Wow.
Fucking crazy. It wouldn't be long before Rader struck again, and jumping from January until April 4th, 1974, Rader broke into a Wichita home of a 21-year-old woman named Catherine Bright through her screen door. Now, he had been scoping her out, right? He thought she lived alone. So when he went in, he was kind of stunned to see her 19-year-old brother, Kevin, also there on the property. So again, he's got a gun, he's keeping him there, and he takes Catherine into a bedroom and he ties her down, forcing Kevin at gunpoint to restrain his sister with a rope that he had provided.
Oh, this is awful.
Rader attempted to strangle Catherine to death before stabbing her 3 times in the back and lower abdomen.
Oh my.
And he would later say that he used the knife because she struggled too much.
Wow.
He also strangled Kevin and shot him in the back of the head, but Kevin survived by playing dead and would later escape.
What?
Yeah. After the shot, it didn't kill him, so it must have missed or just grazed him, but he was smart enough to just lay there.
So he survived?
Kevin survived, yes. And he later described Rader as an average-looking guy with a bushy mustache and psychotic eyes. Which, okay, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you're looking for a cartoon character.
Yeah.
In October of 1974, Rader placed a letter in a public library book in which he took responsibility for the killings of the Otero family. This poorly written note gave authorities some idea of who they were actually dealing with, and a local newspaper began covering the story of the letter that was left in the library. Now, in the letter, he wrote that it was hard to control himself, and he said, "You should probably call me psychotic with sexual perversion hang-ups."
What the fuck?
Yep. And he warned them that he would strike again, and noting, quote, "The code words for me will be bind them, torture them, kill them, BTK," unquote.
Wow.
And
He gave himself his own nickname.
He did, and we all agree that's bullshit. You shouldn't be allowed to name yourself.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta get someone else has to give you your nickname. I didn't just, get Madsters.
Yeah,
I didn't come up with that myself. You
right.
gave me that, so.
In August of 2023, the Associated Press reported that Rader was considered the prime suspect in 2 further killings in Oklahoma and Missouri. Authorities discovered possible trophies for victims after launching a search for evidence at his former Kansas home. And basically what they found was keepsakes or other things that led them to believe he may have killed these other people. There was 16-year-old Cynthia Dawn Kinney, who was last seen in Osage, Oklahoma in June of 1976 at a laundromat. Witnesses said that she left the laundromat at 9:30 a.m. and got into a faded beige 1965 Plymouth Belvedere. In 2023, Osage Sheriff Eddie Verdon claimed that Rader was identified as the prime suspect after it was determined that he was involved with the Boy Scouts in that area.
Oh.
And additionally, it was discovered that Rader had written the phrase "bad wash day" in his journals the day Cynthia disappeared. And A-Bank was also having a new ADT alarm system installed across the street from that laundromat when Cynthia went missing. And as we know,
Wow.
he was an installer for that alarm company. So basically, it seems like he took this girl out. However, Rader, after his eventual arrest, denied any involvement in that murder. The reason they think he won't take credit for that, because he's taken credit for all these other murders, is because Oklahoma has the death penalty, where Kansas at the time did not.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense why he's not claiming that murder.
Yes, so it's likely he did, but he's never going to say it because he doesn't want them to execute him, which is weird, but what do I
Is he
know?
still alive in prison now?
He is, yes. He's probably going to be dead soon, though. He's old as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, he was almost 30 when he committed his first murders, which was like 5 months before I was born. So there you go. He's
Oh,
old.
yeah. Okay.
He's old as fuck. His next murder occurs on March 17th, 1977. 25-year-old Shirley Relford was found dead in her home in Wichita. Shirley had not been feeling well that day, and she sent her 5-year-old son out to the store to buy some soup.
That's crazy. You're sending your 5-year-old son out to the store to buy soup.
It's
He's so young.
1977. I'm sure it was right
Yeah.
on the corner, right? At 5 years old, I don't think my parents were letting me run around. So there is that. But she's sick and he's 5. I don't know. It's a what the fuck
Yeah.
question, yeah. Now her son's name was Steve. And Steve, on his way back from the store, was approached by a man on the street who showed him a picture of a woman and her young child. And he asked Steve if he knew who these people were. Now, obviously, this is Rader. And the picture he's showing this kid, is a picture of his own wife and kid. Now, Steve's like, "No, sir." And Rader's like, "Are you sure? Look again." And Steve repeats his answer. And Rader pretends that he's going to go to a neighbor's house as Steve goes home. But as soon as Steve enters the house, a few minutes later, Rader's knocking at the door. Now, Steve opened it, and basically, Rader forces himself in. And he immediately starts pulling the blinds, he turns off the TV, and he pulls out a gun. And this is when Steve's mother, Shirley, steps out. And Rader's holding the gun. And everyone's just standing there kind of like, oh, fuck. And then the telephone starts ringing. And little Steve is asking his mother if she wants him to answer it. And Rader's like, "No, leave it alone." And the mother confirms it. She's like, "Do as he says, just leave it alone." Then, of course, Rader tells Shirley to start putting toys and blankets in the bathtub for Steve and his siblings, because there's other kids in this house. So the mother does. And then Rader takes some rope and he ties the doors shut. Now, there are 2 doors in this bathroom. One opens out and one opens inward. So he's literally tying the rope to the doorknob and the pipes under the sink so they can't open the door one way. And then the other door, he actually pushes a bed up against it. So this is the one that enters where the mother's bedroom is, so that the kids can't open the door. Rader,
So he traps them in there.
He traps the kids in there. And Rader then begins to remove Shirley's clothing.
Oh, no.
He binds her hands behind her back, and he placed a plastic bag over her head and tied rope around her neck. Her son, Steve, in a later interview, said that he was standing on the bathtub trying to peek over an opening above the door to see what was happening to his mother. And of course,
Oh, that's so sad.
his siblings are obviously hysterical. So at one point, Steve even yells out to Rader that he's going to untie the rope under the sink. And Rader told him if he did that, he would, quote, blow my fucking head off, unquote.
Wow.
So even though this woman has a bag over her head, she is pleading with the kids to stay in the bathroom. And the children obeyed, at least for a time. But as time passed, the children were growing more frightened. And finally, one of them broke out the bathroom window in an effort to escape. Now, in a weird thing here, there are differing reports. One report says the kids did go out the window. The other one says that the window was there to make Rader, was opened or broken to make Rader think they had left, when in fact they were either hiding or gone out the door. But it's not clear which. Now, at this point, Rader had Shirley completely restrained, and she vomited as he was tying her legs to the bedposts. He then
She still has the bag on her head?
You know, it's funny because it says that he put the plastic bag over her head, but it doesn't say that she vomited into the bag in my research, so I don't know. I'm going to guess that he may have taken the bag off her head when she was telling the kids to calm down, and he may not have put it back. I don't know. It's unclear. And I've listened to other much more in-depth podcasts about this that do not address this issue either. So I'm assuming he must have taken the bag off. But regardless, he then strangled her with a rope before placing another plastic bag over her head.
Wow.
So after having been in the house for 40 minutes, Rader left. And it was at this point that the kids either came out of hiding or came back into the house and found their mother on the bed, dead.
That's awful.
Rader later said that if the kids hadn't fled the house, he would have killed them both too, saying that he probably would have hung the little girl.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah, he sucks. So going back to what you said at the beginning, no, he didn't deserve a better presentation. His victims did.
Yeah.
Either way, Rader moved on to his next victim. He noticed 25-year-old Nancy Fox going into her home in Wichita and marked her as a potential victim and began stalking her. On December 8th, 1977, Rader knocked at her door. When nobody answered, he cut the phone lines before breaking in to wait for her in her kitchen. Nancy's murder would later be described as Rader as the perfect hit.
That's gross.
He said, although she gave me a lot of verbal static, she cooperated and didn't fight. Fucking weird.
Damn.
Fucking weirdo. Fuck is verbal static? Oh, and arguing? Fuck. That's what I'm going to say. Whenever you give me shit, I'm going to be like, don't give me any verbal static. Stop calling me old, Madster. Verbal static. Anyway.
You do that to yourself.
Yeah, I do. And you know what? I'm okay with it. You can think I'm old. So he said he had complete control over her, and that's why it was one of his more enjoyable kills, as he called it. Rader killed Nancy by strangling her with his belt on her bed. And before she died, he told her he was responsible for the Otero murders, which I can only imagine made her panic that much more at the end, which is what he wanted. Now, the following day, Rader called police from a telephone booth telling them where they could find Nancy's body in her home. Now, despite the cat and mouse game with authorities, Rader was reportedly an attentive husband and able to keep his secret murderous life under wraps.
Oh, that's right. This guy still has 2 kids.
Yeah, at this point, I think he only has the one. I don't think his daughter's been born yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's at this point that he graduates from Wichita State University with his degree in administration of justice. And he continues to taunt authorities and appeared to be ready to strike again. On February 10th, 1978, Rader sent another letter to a television station called KAKE in Wichita, and they call it Cake right? That's how they call it. I don't know. And he claimed responsibility for the murder of the Oteros, Catherine Bright, Shirley Relford, and Nancy Fox. And again, he suggested that they call him BTK. He demanded media attention in a second letter, saying, "How many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?"
This guy's fucked.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Talk about attention whore.
It's so bad. He wants to be famous so bad. He even wrote a poem that he included in the letter called "Oh, Death to Nancy," which was
What the fuck?
which was a parody of lyrics to an American folk song called "Oh, Death."
Wow.
Now, I have heard the song "Oh, Death." It is weird, to say the least. So the fact that this guy chose it makes perfect sense. Now, in the letter, he claimed he was driven by what he called an X factor, and he characterized this as a supernatural element that also motivated Jack the Ripper, the Hillside Stranglers, and the Son of Sam. 2 of the 3 we've already covered on this podcast. Now, obviously, Son of Sam and the Hillside Stranglers came after his killing, so he doesn't say that until later. So he asked the police to send him a hidden message. And in response, and with the knowledge that Rader watched Cake News, police decided to try to flash a subliminal message during one of the radio station's evening news broadcasts for a split second. Are you familiar with subliminal messages at all?
No.
So this was a trick they did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I should say they were trying to do, because it's not clear that it was very effective. And this is when, like, you'll have, like, ice cubes. It'll, like, be an ad for a drink. And in the ice cubes, they'll secretly put in the letters SEX or something. And it's supposed to make you want the drink that much more. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they claim that, like, while you're watching a movie, for like a split second, it'll cut to like someone naked, and it makes the scene feel that much more like exciting to you.
Interesting.
It's stupid. So what they did was they had an image flash for a split second that just said, "Call the chief," and it had a drawing of an upside down pair of glasses, which were found at Nancy Fox's crime scene. So somehow police hoped that this message would influence Rader to turn himself in. But it was clearly unsuccessful because, 1, he may not have even been watching at that moment, and 2, he doesn't turn himself in. Just so stupid. You know, it's like bringing in a psychic. I don't understand it. During this time, Rader also intended to have killed others. One example was 63-year-old Anna Williams, who, in 1979, escaped being killed by him because she returned home later than he thought she would.
Wow.
He said later during his confession that he became obsessed with Williams and was absolutely livid that she had evaded him. He literally spent hours in her home waiting for her to return, and he became impatient and left. But later, he sent her a message that said, "BTK was here," basically.
That's fucking creepy. But good on her for coming home later than he expected.
Well, I mean, she had no idea, but can you imagine getting that letter later? That has scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So in an effort to catch him, authorities released a recording of a 1977 call he had made to police, hoping that someone might recognize his voice. Now, unfortunately, that goes nowhere. But Marnie Hedge, who was 53, was found on May 5th, 1985, at East 53rd Street. Basically, Rader had killed her a week earlier, on April 27th, and he took her body to the Christ Lutheran Church, where he was president of the church council at the time. Literally murdered her and brought her to a church where he photographed her bodies in various bondage positions.
What the actual fuck? He killed her and took her to a church is insane, and then photographing her in the church and he's the president?
Yep.
That's even more insane.
Yep. Now, Rader previously stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for this, and he later dumped her body in a remote ditch.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy's fucked. 2 women Rader stalked in the 80s, and one of whom he stalked in the 90s filed restraining orders against him. Now, keep in mind, people are afraid of BTK. So here he is trying to stalk people, but he's getting sloppy and people are noticing.
Right.
And one of those women even went so far as to change her address to avoid him, which, good on her.
Yeah, she's smart.
However, on September 16th, 1986, now keep in mind, he's been doing this now for 14 years.
Wow. He's killed people for 14 years and still getting away with it?
Yeah, and they have no idea who he is.
Wow.
So September 16th, 1986, Rader strangled 28-year-old Vicky Wegerle to death with a nylon stocking at her house in Wichita. Rader entered the residence by pretending to be a telephone repairman. He then rearranged her clothes post-mortem and took a number of photographs of her nude body. Now, Rader's final victim... Yeah, he's fucked. This guy... Yeah, he deserved... I really hope he had a shit time in prison. Rader's final victim, 62-year-old Dolores Davis, was found dead on February 1st, 1991 in Park City, Kansas. Rader had killed her on January 19th, which was 2 weeks before, by strangling her with pantyhose. Now, this one's interesting because during this time, Rader was actually taking his son out for like one of those Cub Scout, whatever, I don't even know what they call them.
Outings?
When they're out and they're camping, right? So
Yeah.
he's literally out with his son camping, and he gets it in his head to leave the campsite, drive to Park City, Kansas, and murder a 62-year-old woman. And then he returns before anyone has any idea he's left.
That's fucking crazy.
So over the next several years, BTK drops off the map as Rader focused on his work and family life. Now, he had left ADT in the 80s, and he started working for the Wichita suburb of Park City as a compliance officer. In this new position, he was known to be a stickler for the rules. He literally went out and measured people's lawns to see if the grass was too tall and if he could ticket them.
He's fucking crazy. That's so just like over dramatic.
He's a dick. He literally chased stray animals around with a tranquilizer gun.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he was a dick. And he was also a Boy Scout troop leader and the president of his church council. By the early 2000s, the public memory of the BTK killer and his murders began to fade. And local author Robert Beatty began writing a book about the killings after being shocked at how many young people that he spoke to had never heard of BTK. And hungry for attention, Rader suddenly reemerges as BTK in 2004 after learning that a book was being written about him. So
He's such a fucking attention whore.
I'm surprised he went that long without doing anything. That was almost 20 years that he went dormant.
Yeah.
So yeah, by 2004, the investigation into the BTK killer was considered a cold case. And Rader then initiated a series of communications with local media. This activity would directly lead to his arrest in February of 2005. So, in March of 2004, the Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone with the name Bill Thomas Killman, BTK.
That's so stupid.
He wants it to be so bad.
Oh my God.
The author of the letter claimed that he had murdered Vicky Wegerle on September 16th, 86, and he enclosed photographs of the crime scene, as well as
Oh no.
as well as a photocopy of her driver's license, which had been missing at the time of the crime, basically proving that he's actually the killer. And this basically confirmed that Wegerle was a victim of BTK. So, DNA, that was collected from under her fingernails, provided police with previously unknown evidence. They now knew they had DNA of BTK. And they began testing it against hundreds of people because they're hoping that he's already in the system. They tested more than 1,300 DNA samples, and unfortunately, none of them were a match to anybody.
Wow.
Because BTK was not in the system. In May of 2004, Cake TV received a letter with chapter headings for the BTK story, as well as fake IDs and a word puzzle. These guys.
What the fuck?
At this point, he's trying to be like the Zodiac killer who used a cipher, like a coded cipher, and it had messages that it took investigators decades to break. He's trying to be like the Zodiac.
Yeah, he's just trying to come up with a bunch of fucking puzzles.
Yeah, he wants to be famous. We know this. He named himself, for fuck's sake.
That's insane.
On June 9th, a package was found taped to a stop sign on the corner of First and Kansas Roads in Wichita. It had graphic descriptions of the Otero murders and a sketch labeled, quote, "My sexual thrill is my bill," unquote.
Ew.
Yeah, he's gross. Also enclosed was a chapter list for a proposed book titled The BTK Story, which basically mimicked the story of written in 1999 by a TV crime writer, which is so stupid. In July, a package dropped in a return slot at the public library contained even more bizarre material, including the claim that he was responsible for the death of a 19-year-old kid named Jake Allen in Argonia, Kansas, earlier that month. This was actually a false claim.
What?
Yeah, this Jake Allen kid actually killed himself.
Why would you false claim something? It's so stupid.
Because BTK at this point is in his 60s, and he wants them to think he's still active and killing. But realistically, there's no way a 60-year-old man is taking down a 19-year-old kid with any ease.
Yeah.
But if he can make them think that he did it, then people will be afraid of him again. And I think that's what he wants. Rader was arrested on February 25th, 2005, and would later be charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder. Here's what went down. Rader contacted the police via the radio station and like a newspaper, right? Sometimes he would put like an ad in the paper. And again, he likes to use the stupid names like Bill Thomas Killman, right? BTK. And in this, he was asking them if he sent them a floppy disk from a computer with images and shit on there, could the floppy disk be traced back to him?
What the fuck? They're gonna say no, and then he's gonna send the floppy disk, and then that's how they're gonna figure it out, right?
That's exactly what happens.
Oh my god, really? I called it.
He's so old at this point that he doesn't understand how technology works. So yes, they say, no, of course we can't trace that back to you. So then, of course, he mails them a floppy disk, which once they open it up, they can look at the metadata. And they saw that floppy disk came from a computer at a church, and it was used by somebody named Dennis. So it doesn't take them long to look up that Dennis is one of the council presidents at this church.
He's so stupid.
It's a riot that's how he got caught.
Yeah, it really is.
So he was arrested driving near his home in Park City shortly after noontime on February 25th, 2005. When an officer asked him, "Mr. Rader, do you know why you're going downtown?" Rader replied, "Oh, I have my suspicions."
Oh no.
This fucking guy. So while this is going on, the FBI, the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, and the ATF searched Rader's home and vehicle, seizing evidence including computer equipment, a pair of black pantyhose retrieved from a shed, and a cylindrical container. The church that he attended and his office at City Hall, because remember, he does work for the city as well as their compliance officer, was also searched. And then at a press conference, the Wichita police announced the bottom line is BTK is arrested. So he pled guilty to all charges on June 27th, 2005. As part of his plea deal, he had to give the horrifying details of his crimes in court and on the record.
Wow.
Many observers noted that as he described the gruesome events, he showed zero remorse or emotion. Now, because he committed the crimes back before 1994, which is when Kansas reinstated the death penalty, he could not be sentenced to death, and he received 10 life sentences, which is crazy. And we joke about this all the
I
time.
didn't know you could give more than one life sentence.
Yeah, you can get a lot. We've joked that what that should mean is after he dies, they basically calculate how long he was alive, and then they get to keep him for 9 times that length still. They just let his body sit there, but... After his capture, Rader admitted in his interrogation that he had begun planning to kill again and began stalking his intended victims. But again, he's 60 years old, so I'm not sure, unless he's going to kill children, like teenagers, maybe, teenage girls, I don't think he would have been able to pull it off. So Rader, during like interviews, he would talk about topics such as the weather during like these drives from one prison to another. And he even began to cry when his victims' family impact statements were read at court. When they came on the radio, he'd cry. Which is, yeah, he's fucking weird. So he is now in solitary confinement for his own protection, which means that he only gets out 1 hour a day and only gets to shower 3 times a week.
Oh.
Yeah, fuck him. And this will likely continue indefinitely because, yeah, he's not going anywhere. Now, amazingly, when I first started the podcast, I wrote Dennis Rader a letter. I was hoping he would respond. He did not.
He never did.
He did not.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he just didn't bother. And you know what? That's probably for the best. At the time that I did that, I was really hoping I could get interviews with killers. I was very ambitious. But, yeah. So, now Rader has had interviews, numerous interviews. He likes to talk, which is why I thought he would talk with me. But he really likes to get involved. And he has basically gone out of his way to interject himself into other crimes. He has reached out to people about various other killers, including the Long Island serial killer, trying to give police information that he thinks might be valuable to their cause. But the simple reality of it is he doesn't really know what he's talking about. And if you're not familiar with the Long Island serial killer, or more specifically the Gilgo Beach murders, this is something that we're going to talk about in a later episode at some point. But as of now, Rader sits in prison, and we're all waiting for him to die.
That's damn right.
Fuck this guy. And you should see him. He's bald on top. He's one of those assholes that keeps the back and the sides long, and he's just bald on the top with a pair of glasses. Like, who does that? Fucking grow up.
Does he still have his mustache?
You know, I don't know. I haven't seen a recent photo of him, but probably. He probably wants to still look like the BTK killer.
Yeah.
Because he's a sad, sad individual. So, and don't forget his daughter, Carrie, did write that book, which I highly recommend. And there's a really good podcast that's like an 8-episode podcast on his murders that went much, much deeper than I did. And that's really good as well. So, but yeah. So what did you think, Madster?
Really gruesome. Really gruesome. Why did he like to tie everybody up? Like, why was that his thing? What did he get out of it?
Well,
I don't understand
he
that.
got sexual gratification out of it. There was something about the control over a bound, helpless victim that gave him sexual gratification.
That's so dark.
Yeah, he's fucked. I mean, let's be honest. That's what most serial killers are. A lot of the murders we cover, if it's just a single one, it's usually there's like one inciting moment. But a serial killer is a different monster altogether. And in a way, like we you and I covered the Israel Keys case, and he's fucked, but in a very different way. He, like, this guy wanted to make people suffer, and literally he didn't rape anybody. He was masturbating over their bodies.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And he wanted to be so famous. He wanted the world to know who he was.
While he was still getting away with it. And one of the things he said later after being caught was that when he asked about the floppy disk, he honestly thought police would be honest with him because he thought police enjoyed the cat and mouse game as much as he did.
That's fucking funny. He's so stupid.
I mean, at that point, he's an old man, right? He's in his 60s. He's just out of his head.
Yeah.
And now he's famous, and he probably enjoys every moment of it. Which makes me wonder why the bastard never wrote me back, but whatever, fuck him.
Fuck him.
Although with that said, I was looking up a case that I want to cover, and I stumbled upon a website that lists inmates and their addresses if you want to write to them.
Oh boy. Does that mean you're gonna write to some more killers?
Yes. That's exactly what it means. But only because, see, like, so for example, Dennis Rader is not on this website. He's not looking for a pen pal. But amazingly, a killer that I want to cover the case of is looking for a pen pal.
There you go, Janus. You can go and make a new friend.
So what I'm going to do is I am going to write a letter to this particular killer and try to open up a dialogue. And I don't know if this individual is willing to actually have an interview or what have you, but we'll see what happens. I figure it's been long enough now with over 160 episodes that I'm better at it than I would have been had it happened at the beginning.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
Well, fingers crossed you get a response back.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm focusing in on murderers, which is terrifying, but it's something I want to experiment with. We'll see what happens. But I'm not going to write like a bunch of prisoners or anything. I just want to talk to this one particular killer. This person is, and then I want to just to put our listeners' nerves at ease, right? I'm not writing to a male. This is a young female, and she's not getting out until 2070 something.
Oh, shit.
If she lives that long. So I'm not writing to someone that it's going to make me feel unsafe. That's the important part here. Yeah. But I don't want to go into any more detail in case you're there when we cover the case. All right. With that said, thank you everybody for joining us. Once again, I'm Janus Dead.
I'm Madsters.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.